You and I know the best thing since sliced bread is fresh baked, and these homemade garlic knots never disappoint. If seeing these makes you hungry, even a little, then you are contractually obligated to like and subscribe to the channel, where I'll be posting more recipes like this one soon. Let's get started. Start by measuring 1.5 cups of warm water, and to that add 3 teaspoons of sugar. Stir it with a spoon for a few seconds to help the sugar dissolve. Then add 4 teaspoons, or about 14 grams, of yeast. The yeast I'm using has been in my fridge for a few months, so to make sure that it's alive and viable, I'm going to show you how to bloom yeast. If you didn't know, yeast is actually a single-celled microorganism, and a member of the fungus kingdom, which is kinda weird. But once you get past that, it can do some really neat stuff in the kitchen. Yeast converts sugars, including carbohydrates, into carbon dioxide and ethanol. But to do that, it needs to be alive and able to consume those sugars. And to see if our yeast is still alive, all we have to do is add some warm water and a little sugar. I've set this to 16 times speed so you can see what should happen. As the yeast rehydrates, it falls into the water and sinks, but as it starts to consume the sugar, you can see it rising back up to the surface. As long as your yeast is moving like this and creating some foam or bubbles on top, it's healthy and ready to use. If nothing happens after 10 minutes, your yeast is probably dead. As you can see, mine has a nice foamy head on it, so we can be sure it's alive and well. I'm doing this by hand, but if you're using a stand mixer, go ahead and get that out now. In a large mixing bowl, add 4 cups of all-purpose flour, 1.5 teaspoons of salt, and 2 teaspoons of garlic powder. Then mix with a spoon. It doesn't have to be perfect, just mix it enough that the garlic powder isn't all in one place when we add the wet ingredients. Next, add 4 tablespoons of olive oil, and your water, sugar, and yeast mixture into the bowl. Mix it with a spoon at first, trying to wet as much of the flour as you can. If you go straight in with your hands, you'll probably be cleaning dough off yourself for the next 10 minutes. If you're using a stand mixer, start on low so you don't send flour flying all around the kitchen. Or, just start on high if you enjoy cleaning as much as you enjoy cooking. Don't let me stop you. Once a shaggy dough is starting to form, turn it out onto a countertop and start kneading, or turn your mixer onto medium for about 5 minutes. I'll show you the whole process in fast forward, but from the time that I turned it out onto the countertop to the time that I stopped kneading, it was about 6.5 minutes. If your dough is too wet, you may need to add as much as a half cup of flour during this step. If it's too dry, add a very small amount of water or olive oil. You want a slightly wet, sticky dough, but not so sticky that you can't knead it without it cleanly coming off your hands and the countertop. You'll know you're finished kneading when you can pick it up like this and stretch it and it doesn't tear. If it rips apart, knead it again for 2 or 3 more minutes. Roll your dough into a ball and get it a large bowl. Coat the dough with a thin layer of olive oil, and then cover in plastic wrap or a clean dishcloth and let it proof for 30 to 45 minutes in a warm place. Once your dough is doubled in size, turn it out onto a countertop and shape it into a kind of a log. Using a knife or bench scraper, cut the dough into equal-sized pieces. I got 18 out of mine, but I don't see why you couldn't get 24 out of this recipe. or 12 if you wanted them to be really big. Roll each piece of dough into a long strand. Take the left tip and throw it over the middle of the dough, leaving a hole for the right tip to go through. Pull the right tip through the hole, then tuck any excess underneath and place them on a sheet pan with parchment paper. When you're finished forming them, brush a thin layer of olive oil onto the dough before letting them proof in a warm place for 20 to 30 minutes. The second proof is crucial for a nice, airy, light garlic knot. If you skip this proof, your garlic knots are going to be more like garlic shoestrings. Once they've proofed, preheat your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, then bake for 10 to 13 minutes or until they start turning golden brown. Let's get the garlic butter ready. In a small saucepan, combine 8 tablespoons, or about 115 grams of butter, 6 cloves of garlic, basil, fresh works great, but I don't have any right now, so dried is going to be fine, and Parmesan cheese. Heat that on medium-low until the butter melts and the garlic becomes fragrant. Keep an eye on it. Be careful not to burn anything, especially if you're using dried basil. As soon as your knots come out of the oven, brush with lots of garlic butter. The more you use, the better they're going to taste. So while this might look like I'm using a lot, and I am, most of the butter will soak in as they cool, giving them that delicious, restaurant-style level of buttery grease that we all know and love. It took all of my willpower and self-restraint not to eat these while filming, so if you'd like to show some support, it would really make my day if you'd like the video, and consider subscribing to my channel. I'll be posting more recipes like this soon, and I wouldn't want you to miss out.